Hi, everyone. It's John Galante with A Ventures and Jen Cooper from Evolution Marketing. We're bouncing off of the Zillow new construction research that was released earlier this year. We're trying to make those data points meaningful in terms of actions that builders can take responding to the trends. We are on to our next episode. What this said to me was we have the location mantra. And I think sometimes we think that's a zip code. And what this research is telling us is it's more about community attributes than it is about zip code. And, a lot of builders have either selected their land or are involved in the overall development, including the commercial side of things and institutional side of things, to make sure that these community features are there, that there is that ecosystem that makes it competitive. Well, we gotta make sure that that's communicated effectively to the buyer so that we've got parity with those more established locations in terms of experientially, in terms of what you can get out of being in that community and what's nearby. So that's the way I read this, Jen.
Yeah, at first it's like, when you read the headline, buyers put less importance on neighborhoods. At first I was like, because it's a value proposition. It hasn't gone down so much, but I think that the comment behind that is that affordability is just kind of trumping maybe where they think their opportunity to buy is right now. But it's still important, like walkability is still 65%. Like these percentages of like the interest are still high. I just have a feeling maybe any of the small dips are because affordability is kind of trumping. Like I may just have to buy where I can afford, which hurts my heart. That maybe part of that conversation. This is just kind of a proof point that in the first 95 seconds that, a consumer makes up their mind about something when they see it. So even if they are thinking about that importance of proximity to work or what the community is going to offer, the first time they hear about that community or that location, that can be part of that initial consumption of, am I interested? There's just a quick synopsis if I'm going to take the next step, or I'm going to click on that display ad. I'm going to watch that video. I'm going to, stop and understand after that signage pays off some kind of a point of why I should move here. But we're making quick decisions of whether it connects with us that soon. So it's just, I think it's just an important proof point to kick off when we're talking about the whole sense of community and how it pays off, that we're making decisions very quickly. And I like with the next slide to think about brand and differentiation are a big part of the community story, and it really should be woven through all of your opportunity, whether you're a small neighborhood, a medium-sized community, or maybe you're with two builders or one builder, or you're in a master plan. You have the opportunity to differentiate with your brand and your value propositions for why you're in that community. So I like to start off with brand and community, and it's cart and horse. It's not one before the other. So I like to think about the brand as a tool of the community, and it really enables us to compete in the market. It's, it's what's externally facing, but the brand ultimately has three objectives to help you identify your community's offerings. You've got your logo, you've got a motto, you've got a unique feature, helps you differentiate from your competitors, and it gives you that extra value above and beyond the utility of just the community itself. So it's super important for the marketing team and the sales team in the very, very infancy of your community launch. Again, regardless if it's small, large, master plan, how is your identity going to show up in that community? Why did you decide to buy there? And how is it going to connect to the overall marketing message? So I'm having those conversations with community launch teams as we speak with my builders. We have to decide what that identity is early on and not like, we're here. We've got 3 sites done. What is that conversation?
So community is it's early consideration in terms of the buying journey, right? Like you could get ruled out, and you have to give people a sense that it's more than just houses popping up out of a cornfield, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. So then we need to look at the next part of it is really kind of understanding that's the buyer story here, and steps to making your community resonate with the buyer. So thinking about your, I like to say that starting off, the buyer's needs are changing kind of in the last 5 years, especially kind of post-pandemic. So that I think, again, that's where those those numbers may be ticking up and down as the population is getting used to just different waves of change. So I never knee-jerk reaction to some of that data, but they're interesting to watch year over year as they may start to be, indicators of bigger trends. But you need to be looking at needs assessment for every community. And I'm talking about at the due diligence level, when we're just trying to go into that community, we're at pro forma, where we thought through the floor plans, but really thinking about what is that community, again, that purpose, working with sales, working with purchasing, and really talking about what your story is going to be in that community, and thinking about your brand promise, going back to what do we say we're going to do? Again, what is our purpose for building, and tying that into that story, and then doing your research, knowing your competition, your area analysis. And I say, go and fall in love with the neighborhood or community first. If you fall in love with all of the value propositions of why you're building, and I really do, even when it might seem like a little bit of an uglier baby, find what's going to resonate about it and try to fall in love with it, because it'll be easier to market. It will be easier to talk to sales about your value proposition. Fall in love first before your customer does. Your standards will have sticking power in the community and driving that overall value proposition. I like to say the customer hierarchy of needs in home building, they still are going to first buy off location. If they have to drive 2 hours, again, affordability sometimes knocks this prioritization off a little bit right now. But ultimately, if I could buy off location first, I'm going to. Then I'm going to be looking, at the price, because price is going to drive. But then ultimately, then I'm going to decide on your product. You can be talking to me about all those value propositions of your product, but if I can't find something in an area that's reasonable for me to drive, and then if I do, and then you've got more amenities or better shopping or just a different proposition around your community, it's going to make you stand out. And then I have to be able to afford it before I can buy it. If I can't afford it, I can't buy it. And now we're going to talk about product. So efficiently training the market to how you're coming up in your messaging. I'm always marketing place as much as possible. What customers will remember in that experience is your world-class service, your relationship-first mindset. Again, we talked about customer service being important as some of our other bullet points, the ease of the process, and the art of the follow-up. So that will all be the things that your sales team needs to be following up as you're selling community. When we talk about brand, I love to talk about how we're doing the community positioning. So like, where's my sign? And we're looking at everything from your community entrance sign to your directionals to your billboards, your bootlegs, your on-site model sign, your grassroots competitive, signs as much as you can, and creating that message, creating that cohesiveness, creating sense of place, using lifestyles. I see this being done better today than I did 5 years ago. So I do think more and more people are paying attention to the art of signage, but you can never look at it too soon. We start planning it again when we haven't even dug our first site. We're planning all of that signage strategy very early on. Super important. Also looking at your community positioning, so defining your unique value proposition for your community and how you're going to pitch it early is key. So looking at what makes your location truly unique, understanding all of your school districts, that's really, really important. Your proximity to industry and entertainment, selling future development, knowing what's in the area. I spend a lot of time just going out and understanding exactly what's coming into my development, because that will be important if you're going to be there 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the road for the investment of your home growing as well. The walkability, location, recreation, positioning the home design for the buyer for that location. In another episode, we talked about how we're really building the home for the demographic. Understanding even down your utilities and your potential average monthly utility bills is super important, and understanding your HOA and taxes. So like some of that might sound a little bit, elementary, but you have that story early on and you bring it before the buyer has to ask the question, creates value. As you're working through that community story and creating differentiation for your neighborhood, thinking about your marketing events, and it's really your big hook. I love this image of the 2 fish, because right now we don't have a lot of fish in our fishing pond that are interested in any of our baits. But what we can do is create some measurable moments right now where we can pull people in, and they may not buy with us today, but we're creating those points and those events and those experiences that maybe when they are ready or their confidence is better, or they get that better job that they're waiting on, that's that one thing that's keeping them from moving forward. You need to be activating your community. And this can come in all different types of shapes and sizes. So we've got like a little bit of a checklist here. One of the areas, again, going back to signage, is when we talk about silent signage for builders and with your community story. We talked about this on another episode, is as I'm driving through the community and as maybe I'm coming in for an event, or I'm just driving through, or maybe I am going to come see a model, we can slowly start to pay off the differentiating factors of the builder and the differentiating factors if it's a master plan or it's a community. So don't think of it just as it's, a sign with a from the, 400s. Use that opportunity to really sell some of the key features that are for the community or for the builder itself. And then going back to those events, creating those moments is super important. So, and again, you can do these large scale. This was an example from a very large scale master plan, but you can pick and pull some of these things. I'm doing some pop-up events just in a small neighborhood right now with the same philosophy of elevate and create experience in your community. 1, to get them out to see the homes, 2, to get to meet their neighbors, 3, to see the features, the trails, and learn about some of the close proximity of the shopping or the dining or whatnot, and create fun that makes them want to get a sense of your brand, your experience, and your people. Again, it's another wide scale event. So you can do everything as small as like a watermelon eating contest to, these big events to groundbreakings at your amenity. And always try to do a groundbreaking event for your home or ribbon cutting. Those show that you care enough to make time to create the event. So you can do all of these things. It's at large scale, or you can do bits and pieces of them at small scale. I like to think about my smaller builders that may not have as big of a budget. There's always an opportunity to create experience. And thinking about how you're paying off that message through all of your branding is super important, and creating a tagline, even if it's just for a small community, thinking about how that can resonate and create that differentiation is super important. It's all about brand, including information from the community, including your team and your customers, and really, really being proud and making that shine. The beauty of any community launch and really being super successful with that community launch is doing your research on the front end. So really creating a marketing plan. I still see so many home builders that don't do this. And from the very first start, researching the area, creating that marketing plan, talk about a go-to-market strategy, what will be successful, going through this exercise with some of my builders right now, and it creates so much more cohesion and excitement.
I just want to make this point that you use people to market community. Actual live human beings are part of marketing community. It's not just facts about institutions and hospitals and retail. It is getting actual people to be user-generated content.
Yeah, I'm always trying to say the proof is in the pudding. Let's show what this example is. And then I just end with, there's a side that there's a pay side of creating your experience and creating your community and all of that. But there are these organic hooks that can still bring interest. So thinking through different ways to elevate your social media game and get people talking, and doing a scavenger hunt at your community. Like that's cheap. That's easy. And talking about how you're connected to nature, create a nature, some kind of a nature game where you've got stakes in the side with a game and a follow-on clues, and different things that families can do, kind of like an I Spy, and offer some kind of a gift for going through the nature trail at your community. Super easy to execute on.
Where do you get your inspiration for all of these events, these creative events? I mean, is this just like natural for you and your team, or are there resources? What's going on?
I will say it's probably 50%. Going to the roots of being a mom and thinking of all the ways of what excites my children. I think there is something there. I do research other events that have either been done, or I research just other activities, or maybe you go experience something and think, how do I bring that into my environment?
And I think it's also getting different generations' contributions on that, because an event for me and my crowd is different than your generation and a generation younger too. right?
Yeah, we have to think about all of that. Like, would everybody enjoy this experience that we think may come into the environment? Because you will have families, moms and dads. I know when my daughter buys her first home Sunday, I'm going to probably want to be there with her, right? And will the experience be kind of multi-generational? Going back to the initial Zillow report, again, I don't look at that information as it's dropped significantly. I think affordability is playing into whether I'm looking at location and price first right now. But we have an opportunity as builders when we get someone in the door. It's not just, they came to our door for a reason. First and foremost, they came to our door for a reason. Understand what it is that they're looking for. And if community is a really big piece, entertainment, things that your community can pay off, make sure that you're shouting that story because you fell in love with it first.
I really want to thank you for sharing. I know you're busy with your builder clients and helping them strategize and implement, but it's so generous of you to share your insights and tips with our audience. And thanks again. Yeah, we'll see you next time on another Builder Innovator webcast.